Hi, my name, as y'all know, I'm Taryne Chapman, and this would be my fourth year returning to the RA position. I've been a residential advisor ever since I started the position my sophomore year when I was an RA in BBB. The reason why I'm returning to the role is I really enjoy being an RA, and there's just a strong possibility that I could be back at Syracuse University next year. So I want to take that opportunity to really make sure that I play my cards right, and essentially make sure that if I can continue doing this work and continue being an RA, that I want to do that for as long as I can, and take advantage of that opportunity since I don't have money like other individuals are privileged with. I think that being an RA is a collection of room and board, but beyond that, it's just about being an advocate. And so that connects really, deeply to one of my greatest, I think, success stories as an RA, which is creating change, not only within ORL, but also taking a step back and realizing the bigger message of what it means to enact change on a social justice platform for the residents. 2 years now, I've been lucky enough to be an RA for the multicultural living learning community. And that's been such a rewarding experience because each day I can interact across difference. I get to do the work that I really love, which is being in spaces that are about social justice awareness, that are about challenge, that are beyond just the tokenized terms that we use like diversity and inclusion. What being an RA in the multicultural living learning community has been so great is because we're not just about, as Angela Rye would say, staying woke, but working woke and working to unpackage our identities of privilege, but also recognizing that we do have marginalized identities that are constantly being attacked, violated, assaulted upon. So, what are the ways that we negotiate that? What are the ways that we can take that and motivate it and mold it in a productive way? So, being an LCRA has been my greatest experience. Being on my floor and being able to, dance and have people know what I'm listening to and, be like, Taryne, if you listen to this album, or having just these unorganized, unplanned, spontaneous sit down conversations and dialogues with my residents. That has been the most productive aspect, I would say, of this position. And that connects just full circle to my strengths. So I think that one of my biggest strengths in this community, with RAs in general, and upper division communities, it would be to continue to push. I think that we spend a lot of time focusing on freshmen, and then the freshman year, it's kind of just one of those things where, where's this diversity? Where's this conversation? How much are we pushing? And are we just accepting the fact that because upperclassmen residents are tending to be more independent and they go out more and they're off on their own and do their own thing, does that necessitate the fact that we're not going to continue to challenge them and be there for them in the same ways? So I think that my strengths, by being so resourceful, I can connect with upperclassmen, if not better than I would connect with underclassmen. To me, I see no distinction between the two populations, because at the end of the day, they all demand, what each of them demands. And we can't assume that because you're a first year student that you don't know what's going on, or you're going to need this type of, mentorship and RA-ship. And just because you're upperclassman, we're not going to assume that you don't need the same things. So the connection of them both is what I'm geared towards, being adaptable and flexible and being able to think on your feet and not being afraid that you may not be heard of. Those are the strengths that I bring to an upperclassman dorm. And by being an RA for 3 years now in a first year center, in a first year floor, it's about time that I think I try what it's like to be with upperclassmen, see what it's like to work with those individuals, and to be an RA for an upperclassman dorm. Because when we talk about how those strengths translate, I haven't been able to test them. I've only been able to speak theoretically, and I'm fully confident in my abilities to connect with upperclassmen students. So I would be, great to deal with upperclassmen students or mixed populations where I can have a variety of both. So that's what I would say in that respect. In terms of um, feedback from supervisor, um, and how would I provide feedback to supervisors or my staff, just anyone in general. I think that in a lot of ways we are coddled um, in terms of how we go about giving and receiving feedback, because I understand that there should be a level of distinction between what the MRA role is and that they should be the liaison. And there are certainly situations in which the MRA does a fantastic job. In my 3 years thus far, I've seen great MRAs every step of the way. But what I'm curious about is there's this rumor going around that's probably more truthful than it is a rumor, that there's not going to be MRAs in the 2018 to 19 academic year. I'm excited for that because we need to empower an agency within myself and other RAs that it's okay to respectfully give and receive feedback to your supervisors. I'm direct. I will call out if there's something that I don't really understand or don't like that you're doing. I'll be like, excuse me, senior staff, I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling this for X, Y, and Z reasons. Can you explain that to me? And I'm also open minded. So if we're just going to go ahead and try something new, I'm open to that. But if it's not, working, I'm going to let you know it's not working. And I expect the same directness, the same sternness back to me because I respond. This quote goes around that we given on my mock trial team for advocacy: iron sharpens iron. You're not going to be able to make me grow if you're not, approaching me the way that I approach you. And that doesn't mean we have to have the same style, but that means, I'm giving you a directness, a sternness, a candid honesty. Give that back to me. And that's all that, I require to work well with someone is directness and sternness. So that's how I give feedback, and that's how I respect and expect it to be done to me. I think it's important to realize that. And I think, to the next part of that is like, how do we do with difference? Like I've had some senior staffs in my 3 years that have all been different from, my senior staff, my sophomore year to my senior staff that I had my junior and senior year. And what I say to new staffs and new dynamics and changing supervisors is you need to be open to changes. You need to be able to recognize that it's not about telling new RAs or new senior staff, like, listen, like, I'm a returner, I'm this, I'm that. I get returners have responsibility, but I also am confident that everyone brings something different to the table. And just switching, like, let's say we had a staff from year to year that was the exact same, with the exception of one senior staff member being different, or if it was all the same and it was one RA that was different. That changes the dynamics. And we need to recognize that dynamicism is important, and we move and operate as an entity to create change in a residential community. So I think that the strategies I like to use is allowing people to speak, never being so close-minded that just because something has worked in the past that we have to stick to that, and not being so out with new ideas that we're not willing to critique those, tailor those to something that's already worked. You need to be able to bring both of those elements into the strategies that will make your staff successful. And then in terms of communication, I like to, if opinions differ from your own, we like that. I think that we tend to only think of diversity in this fixed, convoluted binary, like the good and bad or the black and the white. Diversity exists on a spectrum. So if individuals have different ideas that I may not agree with, we need to create those spaces, create that allyship. And if it's something that's violent to the community, we need to have that conversation. We need to recognize that communication is not yelling most of the time, but it actually is saying, what is problematic. And from that, that's where we begin. And all of these things that I've said is why I want to be a residential advisor